we wheel them and we turn them and we rock them and we sound them and we tempo them and laughs the rhythm sweet.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Riddim Suite. I'm your host Phylecia Renae, and today we are at the Business Innovators and Game Changers Awards Gala. So welcome back guys, we're sitting here with Dr. Clive Williams, who is the founder of Where It's At newspaper. Welcome Dr. Clive.
You know, Where It's At is kind of special in a number of ways. For one, I was involved with Where It's At back home in Jamaica. It was a show on television back home. I have fond memories of old friends who we went to school together. We danced together on that show. And so I carried that memory with me wherever I went. When we decided that, as a matter of fact, we didn't decide. It was kind of forced on us to do a publication because we had been doing a pageant, a very successful pageant for older women. When that pageant became extremely popular, we had to publish a number of journals in order to keep track of the story. And the publishing of that journal meant we had advertisers. And my son and I said, well, we have these advertisers. Why not give them a regular medium to advertise in? And Where It's At was born.
Now how would you say that your Jamaican roots have influenced Where It's At magazine?
Well, my Jamaican roots really consist of two just unbelievable people. My mom and dad. I grew up non-traditional in the Jamaican sense, in that my mother was a shopkeeper, my father was a baker. I worked in the shop and I helped my dad in the bakery. But you know something? It was incredible work. It wasn't work. It was like a vacation because I got to eat sweets. I got to drink soft drinks. and that was incredible. That was the payoff. And my mother I loved to death. She was the punisher. She was the one who got me with a belt. My dad was so tough that he didn't have to do anything. He just looked at me sideways and it's over. But I grew to respect and love that man to the point where whenever I find myself in a down moment, I think of my dad's tenacity, his resilience, and his sheer determination and power. And that gives me all the fuel I need. I'm an incidental writer and journalist. It came about because Don Topping at RJR saw me, heard my voice, and said, "You're a natural for this medium." And it was a parallel profession because I was always a business executive. So whatever I did with radio or writing was parallel. So I've always had parallel professions right throughout my life.
But you don't have any right now, do you?
Yeah, I have a parallel profession. I do the newspaper, and I've now just started the not-for-profit foundation, Caribbean American Leadership Foundation. And through that, I hope to continue what I would call my charitable work.
So where would you say your inspiration for Where It's At comes from?
When I came here to this country to live, I started really reading the newspapers, and I noticed that the pictures of black folks, people of color, always look really dark and really look like they were some kind of felon. And I'm saying, I never see these people in color, except for the magazines. I later got to find some magazines that portrayed black celebrities. But the average man was not portrayed that way. And so I said, our Caribbean folks need a publication that highlights their color, their food, their culture. I want to create a platform for them to demonstrate their talents.
You specifically focused on Caribbean and not just Black American. Why was that?
We truthfully have started the transition now to willfully reach African Americans, because Jamaicans have kids born here. And that first generation consider themselves Americans. And so their counterparts who they went to school with are African Americans. And they started reading it because we were giving them stories like the history of ska, the history of dancehall. The stories like this fascinates people, and music as the universal language. We crossed over. Just recently, a friend of mine said to me, "You know something? You have no idea how well read your paper is. I saw a Jewish gentleman reading your paper and enjoying it and pointing out to me some Jamaican things.
Now, let's talk specifically about this event, the big awards. Why was it so necessary that we have an event like this in our community?
We decided, my son and I, and my son was the creator of the acronym BIG. He said that it's got to be business innovators and game changers. People who are constantly doing something a little different. People who are disruptors. People who says, you know, Jamaican food has never been widely accepted. But guess what? We're going to start a Jamaican restaurant. As cheesy as it may sound, people come from outside of the communities to come find this jerk chicken. Right? So these people are game changers. I notice that people toiling for years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, have a business. And if you see them, you don't know who they are. But there are some exceptions. There are some standout people, like the people who are in the patty business, you know. Those people are revered because it's big. But look, the real salt of the earth people who really took some serious risks and have been in that community. And not only are they have business in the community that serve the community for 20 and 25 and 30 years, but they are giving back things to the community. They help to ensure that kids survive, parents survive in hard times, and schools survive. They're the lifeblood of the community.
They're the game changers.
No, they're the game changers. Nobody pays them any attention. So we start to recognize them. And you know, there's a peculiar kind of Caribbean thing where we really don't honor each other. And I wanted to address that. After all, Marcus Garvey said that we have got to esteem and lift up each other. That's what we do, we should do, and that's what I'm doing.
You mentioned Marcus Garvey. Who inspires you?
My father.
Your father.
My father first, but here's a twist now. My father was a diehard Marcus Garvey adherent and follower. So right throughout my young life, all I hear is self-determination, which is Marcus Garvey's message. You must determine your own existence, your future, your outcomes yourself.
What doesn't the world get to see when putting together a newspaper?
People don't understand, you know, that when you're putting together a newspaper, you're dealing with literally hundreds of thousands of words, right? If you make one mistake, people are going to flay you publicly. You don't have no sense, you can't read or write properly, blah, blah, blah. So it's a big risk. You're putting yourself out there, right? What people don't see is the moving parts that come together. These talented people who don't work for a lot of money, who write stories. And by the way, where it's at, we don't just regurgitate stuff, we write stories. Our writers toil and write hundreds of words on real people, real stories, like some of the stories that you see here tonight.
What else sets Where It's At apart? Because there are a lot of other people who are writing newspapers. Why is Where It's At so different or better?
I don't want to represent my people in any small way, right? I want us to look good. And so we made Where It's At full color. So that's why we call it a magazine. People misunderstand that thin line between newspaper and magazine. A newspaper has a newspaper layout, which is a different layout from a magazine layout. And so Where It's At is a magazine that takes into account the fact that when people are off reading, to give them fine print in a long train of words. So what we do, we try to visually, we make it more appealing by putting in a lot of color and a lot of pictures.
What advice would you give to somebody who wants to follow in your footsteps?
Oh Lord, man. The first thing you've got to do is find a mentor. And by mentor, I mean just talk to somebody in the business. So if you want to venture into publishing, find a publisher, someone who is willing to talk to you, because some won't. You know, just find somebody like myself. There are many of us out there who is willing to help you, and we'll give you the advice that you need, and you take it from there.
Why do you love your job?
When you're able to use words and tell stories, turn a phrase that can make people say, that's the most magical thing to me. And it gives me a great pleasure to put those words together. It inspires me, and I wake up thinking that I want to do more of this. This is Dr. Clive Williams from Where It's At Magazine. And I'm delighted to tell you that the Riddim Suite.
We'll be right back.